The five boring devotions that maintain a 100-pound weight loss. So I lost a bunch of weight, right? And people think I've noticed some things about weight loss that people tend to believe about the weight loss. And I just wanted to share some of the boring stuff that I do on a day-to-day basis to be able to help me to maintain. Now, I've done about 100-pound weight loss. There have been times when my weight would fluctuate 10, you know, maybe even 15 pounds in some places, depending on where I am in the world and what it is that I'm doing, or what period of life I'm going through at the time. But in general, I for the most part have maintained the 100-pound weight loss. And these are some of the habits that have sort of followed me through the 10 countries that I've been to over the past 8 years of travel that I have been living in. So my first practice is to anchor my day in a savory, high fiber breakfast. Savory, high fiber breakfast. Rarely, 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 rarely will you ever catch me eating something sweet anymore for breakfast. Um, and by sweet, I mean, things that we eat in America, like, pancakes and waffles. Um, I do eat fruit for breakfast, but I don't eat the fruit by itself. Like when I eat fruit, I have to eat it with things like I like to make a cereal. When I was a kid, I used to eat the box cereal. Rarely, I don't think I've ever really had cereal again as an adult. Um, but I will make my own version of the cereal that I actually enjoy. And so right now it'll be a mixture of a little bit of oatmeal with maybe something like chia seeds and flax seeds. And the flax seeds will be ground up. Um, I'll mix that with maybe a chopped date or two, maybe raisins or, bananas. Um, and then I'll mix that with some kind of a fruit. Like right now, this week I had it with papaya and banana. Because the papaya is really good for digestion. Um, and everything else is high in fiber. The protein I'll get from the seeds. So, sometimes I'll add things like not protein powder, pumpkin seeds. I never do protein powder. I don't think I've ever even bought protein powder. I just think it's gross. Like, how are you eating? Do what you want to do, but I just personally think protein powder is disgusting. Not that I've never ever really had it. I like food. And I want real food. Don't give me a powder and I got to throw that in a smoothie. It's just I don't. That doesn't make sense to me. If you like protein powder, you go for it. Um, so if I want something sweet, and then like to me that's not even sweet. I mean like sugary cereals. That's sweet. But I will do, and I'll add cacao nibs on top of that cereal. Um, and cacao nibs are 100% cacao, so it doesn't have the sugar and all that other crap in it. It's not like a milk chocolate bar or, a processed cereal that has chocolate in it with all the extra sugar and the added milk. And then for the milk, I'll generally will do something, it'll usually will be something like a coconut milk or a soy milk. Those are my favorite ones because of the texture of it. I'll do almond milk or whatever else is available, but that's what I like. I prefer to have coconut milk or a soy milk. Um, I also like on the deeper end of the savory side. Um, I don't know if you are familiar with full. I think that, and I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. Full or full. It's a Middle Eastern dish that is made with beans, usually fava beans, but I'm never in a place that has fava beans. And if they do, they're in a can and they have all a bunch of other crap in it. Um, so I will generally um, make it myself with what I have. Usually white beans, some kind of a white beans. I think they're usually navy beans. Um, I like to be able to cook it myself from scratch, from dried. But a lot of times I'll prefer because the texture of beans that are already jarred, like here in Mexico, I like the fact that I can get jarred beans and they're not in a can. Canned beans have a certain flavor that I don't really necessarily care for. But beans that are in a jar, in a glass jar, to be precise, it doesn't have that flavor in it. But it does have that sort of mushy texture. And so what I'm looking for when I make pho is something easy that I can do really quickly. I literally put it in a pan with some olive oil to be able to warm it up, and I take the back of my fork or spoon and I'll mash it up. And I'll mash it up with some cumin, some salt. Um, what are Judas seeds? It's like or fennel seeds, because Judas seeds I think are cumin. But I will use fennel seeds because fennel seeds taste like um, that is what gives sausage its flavor, and I love that. But I don't necessarily always want to have sausage in everything that I make, so I'll just add sausage seasonings to the beans to be able to give that savory breakfast flavor taste that I like to be able to have. And so I'll mix that up. Throw garlic in there, maybe some chopped up onion. And that sort of creates a base for the breakfast that I want to have. And so I'll also add in, a couple of eggs, either boiled eggs or a couple of fried eggs, and then some greens. I'll take a whole bunch of spinach or a Swiss chard or, some kale. That tends to be what it is that I can get here in my home in Mexico. Um, and I will saute the greens. That doesn't take very long. I like to be into my greens. I like to be able to cook them with nutmeg. I don't know what that is about, except for something about having the beans with the nut, or not the beans, but the greens with nutmeg, and really just a couple of sprinkles. Don't kill it, because that's all it needs. It's just a couple of sprinkles of the nutmeg, and I love that. I absolutely love it. And I'll eat that together, the beans with the greens and the eggs. If I don't have eggs, I might do um, oyster mushrooms or some kind of a mushroom, whatever it is that I have going on. So I like oyster mushrooms or cremini mushrooms. Those are usually um, what I will have. If I'm being fancy, I might even add like a bunch of different colored sweet peppers for some vitamin C. And really, that's what I like for breakfast. And so either one of those breakfasts, the one with the fruit and the grains, or the more savory breakfast with the beans and the vegetables, all of those are high fiber. Um, of course, fiber helps to keep you full longer. They keep you regular, which is really important to help to keep your skin nice. If you're not going to the bathroom, it just, your stomach gets all bloated and you can't move and you're tired. And that's a problem. You need to be able to go to the bathroom. Um, what else? And it's a good way to be able to help keep your blood sugar steady. And as I get older, I pay attention to that more. Being able to keep your blood sugar steady. And when you have a really good breakfast, and I don't necessarily eat earlier in the day, I'll probably eat my breakfast uh, like 10, 11-ish in the day. Um, and sometimes I won't even do that. My breakfast will turn into like an early lunch, like 12, 1 o'clock. Because I generally eat twice a day. I generally eat twice a day. I don't know how people eat 3 meals a day. If it's working for you, continue, please. But for me, 2 meals a day, two good solid meals a day, I think is more than enough for me. Um, and then if I want snacks, I'll eat fruit or something else in between. I have a pain in my neck that won't go away. I think I slept wrong. But having that first meal of the day, where everything is a whole food. I made it myself. It's full of, vitamins and minerals. It helps to keep your blood sugar steady, and as a result, my mind is steady. So I can sit down at my computer and I'm ready for a day of work. If you're starving or you've eaten something that has a lot of sugar in it, you're sort of, you're falling asleep at the computer, or you're sort of hyper for a while until you crash. And I don't want to feel like that. So that's generally what I eat. Now, of course, there will be changes depending on what time of the year it is. Like the cereal that I eat, the cereal that I eat will be, because it's hot outside now. I'll eat that cold. So I'll pour the oatmeal, and these are rolled oats, not like a whole um what do they call the full oats? But what I use are rolled oats. Those are rolled oats are already cooked. They can steamed. They're not the steel cut oats, that are more harsh. Those you do need to put that on the stove and boil it, and for a while until they're done. You don't want to just eat steel cut oats or any of their cousins. Um, to eat those, um, you know, just by pouring cold milk on it. But the rolled oats you can. And I don't do like quick oats. Get the best quality rolled oats that you can. And mix those. And so in the summer, like right now, we're in the middle of hellish hot season. So I'll put that with cold milk. When it's colder, I'll take the time to warm the milk up before I do all of that, to have hot breakfast. Um, but even when it's hot outside, I still want to have beans. Like I really love beans for breakfast. And even sometimes, like even I won't do beans for breakfast, but even to have like a breakfast salad, like a strong breakfast salad, like a something with like a ton of cucumbers and tomatoes and onions with a good hunk of garlic. Um, I'm not really always big into lettuce. It depends. Like I have to be in the mood for lettuce, if that makes sense. I have to be in the mood for lettuce. But like a bunch of cucumbers and carrots and radishes, like the more hearty vegetables. Um, I like that. And I might eat that with some boiled eggs. And that might be my breakfast too. So it really just depends. It just depends. And all of those things are, pretty easy to be able to create. It doesn't take more than, you know, with some 20 minutes, maybe even 10 to 15 if I'm moving quickly, which is rare. I'm really because I work for myself and I work in a my own home environment. I'm never really in a rush when I'm making food. I like to be able to work and pay attention to what it is that I'm doing. So having said all that, that leads me into my second point, which is that I reclaim my kitchen as the sanctuary as it is. I claim my kitchen as a sanctuary that it is. Um, Probably the most unglamorous secret to longevity and being able to maintain my weight loss is really just controlling the ingredients that I eat. Because I pay so much attention to the ingredients that I eat, um, that makes the most difference in being able to maintain weight loss. And the only time I have problems with, feeling sort of sluggish and gaining weight and my skin being less smooth than what I like it to be is when I eat out. Because when you go to restaurants and cafes, they use a lot of seed oils, which cause a lot of inflammation in the body. A lot of the spice mixtures that they use have a lot, they'll use a lot of spice mixtures. Either they will make the spice mixtures themselves, or it's just whatever they buy. Because restaurants will go out to a lot of the restaurant supply stores, and they will get big vats of spices because they're creating food in high volume. And so a lot of those mixes have a lot of extra crap in it that you don't necessarily need. So it's got a lot of fillers in it. It has a lot of oils in it. It has excess salt in it. And you don't want those things. For myself, although I do have a few spice mixtures, like I have a dry jerk spice mixture. Um, Although I do know how to be able to make jerk by myself. I just like this particular shortcut. So the brand that I have here, I make sure to read the ingredients, read the ingredient label and make sure it doesn't have stuff in it that you don't like. I I never buy seasonings that have salt in it. I just don't. If it doesn't have any, if it has salt in it, I will put it back. And the salt is usually the first ingredient in a lot of spice mixtures. Or if I'll buy um, things like I used to. I don't have it now because I've ran out of it. I ran out of it, but I used to buy a Betty spice, which is from Ethiopia, and that has Betty spice has it's got a crap ton of it's got at least 10, 12 different spices in it. And I don't like I don't necessarily feel like putting that together every time. So I actually just like to buy something like a Betty spice. And it tends to be more spicy because it has like cayenne in it, and other different types of peppers and cumin and paprikas and all sorts of stuff in it. And I really love it. And because it's got so many spices in it, I'll just buy the mixture, but I'll buy it from a company that I know doesn't use fillers in it. It's really just the blend of spices and that's it. Um, what else? As far as the oils are concerned, I tend to cook with an olive oil, an avocado oil, a coconut oil, and on occasion I'll use butter for flavor. And I don't kill it, and I don't some like I've been to some places here in Mexico where they will make things that have butter in it, and it'll have literally like half inch to an inch of oil of butter, and I'm like, okay, I like the flavor of butter, but like, why do we need to drink it? Like, I'm just not understanding why we need to drink the butter. We don't need to drink the butter. We just need a little bit for the flavor and be done with it. Um, One of the things that I believe about cooking is that I don't necessarily restrict. Like my in diet culture, we get taught that we have to restrict a lot of what it is that we want, and I don't necessarily believe in restriction. I just believe in feeding myself well first, and then for if I still have space left over where I feel like I want to be able to eat things that are extra, um, then I will ask myself questions about what it is that I am looking for when eating that. Which actually leads me to my third point was I establish high boundaries when it comes down to eating treats. Treats like extra sweets, cakes, pies, cookies. Um, I don't say no to those things. I'm not necessarily a dessert person either, but I don't necessarily say no to those things when I want them. But I do have boundaries around how it is I eat it or when it is that I eat it. Like, for example, where I live, there's actually an excellent bakery literally on the corner from where I live. And they have, God, they have these cinnamon rolls that are so good. Oh, and it's so rare to be able to get a cinnamon roll. Like, I'm not in love with the way that, cakes and cookies and pies, for at least from what I have had so far, they tend to be really dry here in Mexico. It's just not a style that I particularly like. So it's not like, I go out and indulge in a lot of sweets here. Um, but that Argentinian plate, oh my God, their stuff is so good. And so there's really only two things that I tend to get. And it's a small place. So they only have a few things in there on the days that they're open. They might have a cheesecake, a chocolate cake, um, and a few other things. And what I love the most is their cinnamon roll. And then they'll make the cinnamon roll that have different toppings and things on it, like they'll put like a blueberry, fresh blueberries mixed with like a blueberry compote. I like they have um, a passion fruit one. Um, I've seen one that they mix it with, and it'll have like the sweet frosting on the top, and even like the sweet frosting. The sweet frosting is not like kill yourself. Um, Sugary sweet. It's like it's a humble. I call it a humble sweet, a humble sweet. Where it's just enough. We're not trying to kill you. It's just enough. And then of course, the cinnamon roll has that sweet sort of spicy cinnamon all through the middle of it. But then they have one that has bacon on it, which is weird. Maybe one day I'll try it. I haven't gotten it yet. Um, But I like the other ones with the fruit, or even just a plain old regular cinnamon roll is also just fine. Um, but I love them, and the reason why I don't eat them all the time, I only allow myself to go in there maybe once a month. Um, because if I get too attached to it, then I want to be in there all the time. But even when I'm out on a regular, going out and doing other things, and I see something sweet or something that is um, not what I would normally eat, I don't make myself feel bad about it. I will decide, okay, why I will sit and have a conversation with myself in my mind. This is something that I had to learn how to do. Whereas before, I would just sort of, eat things without thinking about it. If it was there, I would just eat it because it was being served to me. Now I stop and have conversations with myself in my head. All right, well, why do you want this brownie? Are we at a celebration? Are we celebrating someone? Is it someone's birthday? Um, Are you just celebrating a personal accomplishment? Um, is there something special about this brownie that you want that's sort of different from what it is that you were normally used to? Like for example, there was a time when I was going to have a brownie, and the chocolate here in Mexico is really excellent. And there are certain spaces that will make the chocolate, and they will mix it with chili peppers, spicy chili peppers. That was something I had never had before. And because I'm a foodie, I make space to be able to try new things because that's the kind of life I want to live. I don't want to decide that um, because I live my life based on restrictions, that I will never be able to experience the opportunity to have this brownie with the Mexican chili peppers in it. That's just crazy to me. That's just crazy to me. So it doesn't mean, you go out and you eat it for breakfast and you eat it every day, but you enjoy the opportunity when it shows up. And so that's how I decide to be able to make my decisions on what it is that I want to eat and why. And I feel good about it. If I feel good about it, then I will eat it. And I don't have discussions with people about what it is that I'm eating and why. And I mentioned this last part because sometimes there are other people who are not as comfortable with with the decisions that they make about the food that they eat. And so they will double ask me questions. Oh, how, why she's not supposed to be eating that. Yeah, and it's like, how do you know what I'm supposed to be eating? You pay attention to your plate, and I'll eat what's on my plate. Like, I don't understand. But I've learned that a lot of people are not comfortable because their health is poor, um, and they want to be able all of the questioning and the feeling bad about what it is that they're eating. They'll try to put on me, and so I block those people out. In most circumstances, I don't even respond because I'm not going to get into a conversation with you about what I eat and why because I don't need to. And that's all part of what I do to be able to feel like I've stepped in the person that I'm supposed to be. When you are moving in the world as the person that you are supposed to be, you don't have to explain anything to anybody. You just move like the light that you are. And that's it. You let them figure it out. Now, if they want to ask you questions on the side about what you eat and why you eat, I might share. But now, I used to put a lot of effort and energy into explaining what it is that I eat and why, and giving people suggestions on what they should do, but I stopped doing that. Number one, I don't know enough about other people's bodies to be able to give them enough suggestions for what they should be doing. All I can do is share what it is that I have done and what feels good to me. But the process of you going through that, you need to learn for yourself. So, I always tell people, take your money, invest it in a person, a coach, a book, invest time in watching YouTube videos and in finding a method that looks inviting to you. And then, do what you can to be able to get yourself into somebody's program, private program, a group program, whatever it is that you want to do. And just be fully invested in doing that instead of trying to follow me and trying to put cages around, what you think I'm supposed to be eating based on what you believe I do. The truth is, my food changes. The food that I eat changes all the time, depending on where I'm in the world, what my hormones are doing, what I might feel like doing. That, like, it changes. I do not put restrictions around. Um, I don't put restrictions on what it is that I'm eating. And that seems to work for me. Now, if you're a person who's like, listen, I need to have abs, don't listen to anything that I'm saying. You need a different program. I'm not all that concerned about having rock rock hard abs. If you want to be a hardcore athlete, where you need your body to perform in a certain way to be able to win a race of some kind, you need something else. I like my my advice will probably not work for you. Now, even though I do like to call myself, like in my head, like being an athlete is one of my identities. Um, but for me, being an athlete means being able to get up and to have energy to be able to do my work, to be able to move my body, to be able to lift weights and things like that. Um, and to be able to continue to do that until I get older. I'm not trying to win a race. Like I'm just not. I'm just not trying to win a race. I want to be in the race, sure, but I don't need to win it. So that's important to know. Where were we? Number 4. I think did we do yeah, establishing boundaries retreats. Number 4 is design movement that fits the environment that I live in. So weight loss isn't really maintained by gym sessions that are grueling and punishing. I'm not into that. I don't, as a matter of fact, I don't even like going to a gym. But I do like to make sure that my day-to-day lifestyle includes movement and doing something in reference to weight. So in all of the countries that I've lived in, I tend to live in communities that are walkable. So I can turn my daily movement into, just a really natural um, rhythm that feels good to me instead of making everything feel like a chore. Like I don't like feeling like I have to fit in, um, an hour or 2 hours of a gym session uh, several days a week. I just don't like gyms. I just don't. I don't particularly care for them. I will exercise at home. I like to. I have this set of exercise bands, resistance bands, that I like to be able to work with. But I really like to be able to walk, um, and that's really sort of my baseline movement. I like to be able to do somewhere between 7 to 10,000 steps a day. And like honestly, right now it's so hot that I don't even feel like doing that. I don't even feel like doing that much. But usually, at least 7,000. Like I want it to be 10,000, but sometimes it's just so hot I only do 7,000, and I like that. That works for me. When it gets a little cooler, that's when I'll be a little bit more strict about doing the 10,000. But like right now, I just do as much as I can. Um, and being able to keep my body in motion like that on purpose while I'm doing other things, going out to go and find food, to be able to get, because I like to be able to go shopping to the store once, if not every day, then at least every other day. One is because when you buy food in other countries, it doesn't last very long. So, as Americans, we like to go out, we buy food for a week, 2 weeks, hell, sometimes a month. We have fill the freezer, fill the freezer, fill the freezer. But as I explained, I did a video about the electricity going off for 18 hours. And one of my neighbors had an issue because she literally before the electricity went out, she went out and bought a bunch of food and put it in the freezer. And she was just worried about it, and I was worried for her because she had spent all this money on really good food, that she was afraid was going to go bad. And I don't like to go out and buy a bunch of food in that way and um, and put it in the freezer, because when the electricity does go out, Now you're just sort of standing there with nothing to work with. You can't control when the electricity goes out. And the electricity goes out, at least here in this part of Mexico, it's not that it happens often. And when it does, it certainly doesn't go out for 18 hours. The only other time that where we had a time where the electricity went out for that long is after a hurricane. Um, so I just don't buy a bunch of food. I like the practice of being able to go out and get fresh food, at least once every other day. And then finally, I'm learning, like this is something that's new for me, like within the last year, learning how to honor my aging body by taking care of my muscles. Before, when I was losing weight, I paid more attention to cardio by way of walking and doing light jogging. Um, or even in Rwanda, walking fast up hills because Rwanda is a very hilly environment, or Kigali is a very hilly environment. Um, but what I'm learning now is that as I get older, I'm 49 years old. And so when I started my health journey at 41, I have a very different body now at 49 than I did at 41, even in that little space of time. So I have to do different things. I have to add different things to my routine in order to keep myself healthy. And so I'm noticing that to be able to pick up certain things, I don't have the arm strength to be able to open things up. Even something as basic as opening a jar. And I don't like that, particularly as a person who lives alone. Like I need to be able to open up a jar. I need to, be able to get up and, from the floor, without making a whole bunch of noise, without having to roll over. Like that's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. Like I need a strong back. I need good glute muscles, not necessarily because I need to be flashy for everybody in a tight dress, although that is a bonus. But just because I just like your body is functional. If I'm a single person, right? If I'm a single person, I would love to be able to have male company around, who can help me to do things. But right now, I don't have that. And even if I did, I would still need to be able to keep my body together. And so I'm learning that having muscle makes for a more shapely body, um, as well as a stronger body. And so, I look at my back in the mirror in my dress. And so I've been doing certain back and arm exercises. And I'm, starting to see a slight difference in the shape of my back. And so, in a few months, some of the back, hopefully some of the, the back fat will disappear. Um, my chest, I want my chest to be a little bit higher than what it used to be. The all of this under the arm, all of this under the arm, like it needs to be gotten rid of. I can't. Like that needs to be gotten rid of. Like, what is this even about? I can't work with that. The my stomach. And again, I'm not necessarily interested in having a six pack, but I don't need it to be overly bloated either. So especially since I had back in 2009, I had a myomectomy, which is a surgery to remove fibroids. And this was way back in 2009, but I'm noticing that I had a vertical cut in my stomach because they couldn't do like a C-section bikini cut because the fibroids were so large. And so it left an issue, and I didn't realize it at the time. It's funny. What year are we in? 2026. I'm just realizing how that surgery sort of really jacked up my stomach, um, because I didn't know. It's sort of, what is it called? A diet, diastis recti, I think it's called diastis recti. I don't know. Look it up. But it's a part of the muscles in your stomach that are separated. Um, and it's a problem because it leaves uh, it means that the stomach muscles, the foundational muscles in your stomach, are actually quite weak. And there's ways to be able to do exercises to be able to sort of bring the stomach muscles together again, and which I've been doing, and it's been working. But it's a very slow process. And like what has been um, almost 2 decades of having weak stomach muscles, right? Because I'll be honest with you, my stomach has always been a source of contention for me. I've always been sort of embarrassed of it because of the scar that I have on my stomach. And I've sort of, um, I just haven't paid attention to it. I'll go out and I'll run and I'll just put on a bigger shirt. And, I've never really worn like a bikini outside or anything like that because of the scar that I have on my stomach. I just don't, I just sort of blocked it out. Um, but now it sort of looks like my stomach is kind of, it's getting weaker. And because it's getting weaker, it's interfering with my ability to be able to move in the way that I want to. And I don't like that. So I have to get over it. You didn't if you don't like your stomach, you can't just ignore it. I have to do things to be able to change it. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm doing those stomach exercises to be able to build that foundational stomach muscle that's underneath at the very base of my stomach, so that I can stand up, I can have better posture. Um, you won't have such a large gut because you can do all the sit-ups in the world if your foundational muscles if muscles of your stomach are not strong. It sort of throws everything off. So I want to have good high posture, good quality posture, where I can keep my shoulders down and my back straight. I want to be able to sit on the floor and be able to roll around comfortably and not worry about what my stomach is looking like, right? So caring for my muscles is something that I have added in addition to the running, um, because I want to be able to do another half a marathon in 2027. I'm trying to pick out where I'm going to do it, whether it's going to be here in Mexico, somewhere in the Caribbean, or one of the other Latin American countries. I'm thinking it might be in another country because I've done a half a marathon in Merida, which is about a 4-hour drive from where I am in Playa del Carmen here in Mexico. And it was so much fun. It's so much fun. I love being able to do running events. And in Merida, it was so nice. Mexicans really love fireworks for all sorts of stuff. But I thought that was kind of like that was reserved for holidays and stuff, right? And so we do go to this. We go to this running event, and it's a full marathon. But of course, they break the race up into different categories. So there's the full marathon, there's half a marathon, there's the 10K, and then there's people who are doing like 3 kilometer walk. And it's so cool. And each of those races had its own set of fireworks. like legit, and not like, we're just gonna give you a little bit, like we'll do the big fireworks for those who are running the full marathon, and we'll do a little bit of something for the folks who are walking. I mean, they had good quality fireworks for each set of people who were running their race, which I love that so much. I really did. I love that so much. And I felt special doing that. I felt like no matter what level you were doing, it was just important for you to just be outside and running the race. So I don't know. I might do it again. Maybe not in Merida, but someplace else, or I might go to a different country. Because what I would really love to be able to do is to be like part of my travel experience. While my travel experiences in many ways are about, food and culture, I also want it to be about movement and being able to see new things. And a lot of races, they put in some of the most beautiful places in the world. Like there's a race in Myanmar, and God bless it. I don't think they've done it because Myanmar has um, been in what I believe is a civil war. I hope I'm not mis misspeaking on that. Um, but because of internal problems, they haven't done it. But the race is in a certain part of the country that is dotted with um, temples. I believe there are Hindu temples, and at one time, and they turned into Buddhist temples later on in history. Um, I would love to do that. My God, I was supposed to actually go there. I've been to Myanmar once, and it's a beautiful country, such a beautiful country, with beautiful royal people. Um, and I was supposed to go again, um, but it was right at the early start of the pandemic, and they were just starting to shut down all of the airports. And so I was going to go for my birthday. And so, I wasn't able to go. So maybe one day before my life is over, I'll be able to um, do that race because it's such a beautiful place. Gosh, I love it so much. Myanmar is such a beautiful country. I really love going to the Shwedagon Pagoda. Look it up online, the Shwedagon Pagoda. It's one of the most famous Buddhist temples in the world, where they like everything is like covered in gold. It's like, oh. And I love those things because America doesn't pay attention to those sorts of things. We pay attention to other things, but that kind of history, that reverence to spirituality, I love so much. I've learned to appreciate that about living in Asia. Um, so yeah, I think that was all that I wanted to share with you today. If you like this sort of conversation, these sort of conversations where you get to talk about, I like to be able to share what it is that I'm learning, how it is that I'm growing and changing, but I invite you into the conversation as well. And I usually ask you some sort of a question, and you can use them as journaling questions. And so you can join me on Substack. Substack is called Wealthy, Wise, and Whole, and you can find it at halana.substack.com. And what we do is we do just a deep dive into how physical alignment fuels your creative and your financial freedom. So go ahead and click the link in the description or even in the comment box, and get started with your weekly journaling practice. What else? Click subscribe if you're not a regular subscriber. I would love to be able to see you more often. And also click the like box so that the algorithm, you can tell the algorithm that you want to see more of me and other content like what I've offered you here today. So I will see you tomorrow.